Okay.
Sounds fine. That sounds good.
Okay.
The internet is a little unstable, but we'll just ride it and see how it goes.
Yeah, you're coming through clear. I did get a little message that said unstable,
Okay.
but it's probably just mirroring the planet. But let me check one thing and make sure I have my Ethernet connection. So anyway, welcome. This is sort of our formal beginning, and I'm zooming in to Australia from South Portland, Maine. And for those of you who don't know me, nobody's really watching right now, but somebody will at some point. My name's Michael Naylor, and I'm getting an opportunity to listen to the wisdom of Madhuma in Australia, and talking about the Type 6 or whatever other soulful spiritual wisdom arises. You never know where we'll go. So anyway, thanks for volunteering for this, and you'll be a movie star after this, and maybe enlightened. One can only hope, right?
Oh my God, the pressure, the pressure.
I know. So yeah, so just start wherever you want in terms of your journey about the Type 6 and what you've noticed.
Well, it just occurred to me that I had a teacher who over 30 years ago who told me what my type was. And it was sort of also my very intro to the Enneagram. And
Wow.
I waxed and I waned with that. And so I'm clocking right now that in a way, I didn't have that adventure of finding out what I was. Although I have, you have to confirm it with your life experience, which I have several times, especially as a 6, because I doubt things, and then I need confirming evidence. that's just normal operational functioning for a 6. I think those
So 30 years ago, a teacher said, "You're a Type 6."
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then you went through this confirmation process, and so what sort of what resonates for you in the Type 6 story that you feel like is a part of your life or has been?
Well, the anxiety, the generalized anxiety, and working with my body, doing a lot of meditation practices, sensing practices, movement practices, has enabled me to get more and more finely attuned to my body. And I am still seeing so many, in this moment not, but so many tension patterns. And that is that feels like a baseline way of being for a 6. There's a lot of deep tension and a sense of bracing against the world.
And so within that, I heard you talk about meditation practices, sensing practices, and one of the stories often told is that the 6s have one of the most sort of intense head center traffic, and I don't know if you can actually measure that between types, because most people I know have quite a traffic stream there. But what's that? Has meditation helped over time?
Yeah, absolutely, and I would just agree that I have been more totally busy, teeming amount of thoughts,
Mhm.
and to the point that, you know, it was only, you just have to go to another center. Sometimes it's so busy up there that you just have to go to another center. I just have to dance. You just have to go for a bike ride in order to get some relief sometime, any sense of clarity, to uh, even approach returning to a sense of what is my authentic guidance? What do I feel like doing next? Not what I should do next. What, you know, not what is generally expected of me, but what I should. No, I mean what I actually feel like doing next. So
Yeah.
it's that quieting down the mind. You can only watch yourself and see those patterns with a quieter mind. So it's
Yeah.
super important.
Yeah. Well, it sure sounds like the dancing, biking get you into your gut center, and that can be a great help. I was thinking, you know, when I was in high school, I was called the worry wart because my father was a six, and I seem to have inherited some of his patterns. And but competitive sports, whenever I was playing basketball, there was no time to think, and it would just the head center would get all quiet, and it was just such a feast of movement. And like yourself, bike riding, weightlifting, yoga, dance is something that gets me out of my type four sorrowful, wailing. Life is such a heavy thing. Whenever that pattern's up, it's lightened up a lot over time. But what I find interesting about sixes, because they've been so aware of anxiety, is that they seem to have a real compassion for other people who are anxious, and I've noticed that they go out of their way to try to calm people, you know, create a safe space for them, and there's a kind of even a sort of Ellen DeGeneres type sense of humor that lightens things. It's just, you know, kind of endearing quality, which comes through you when you're speaking and talking. There's that kind of this endearing, connecting energy that's really lovely. So I wondered, you know, if you um, had noticed that about you, that sense of being really sensitive to other people's anxiety.
Mm, sure. Yep. Yep, for sure. Yep. And a lot of my work over the years, I've had two major careers, and both of them have been about uh, allaying people's, well, first of all, Chinese medicine, you know, making people feel comfortable and balanced, and
Yeah,
there's hope, it's going to be okay, we can try this. And then with the dance, creating a safe place for people to actually arrive in their bodies and
yeah,
explore. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Awesome. Well, so did you, when you were a little girl, childhood, teenage years, how did you notice your sort of six patterns? I mean, um, what was that like for you? Do you remember?
Well, I do remember a kind of a taking care of. Well, no, I remember, like, I'm a social six, and so it was very important to have friends, and I usually just would have one, or I would have two tight girlfriends, and that was pretty much it. There would might be a, you know, a group around us, but these two, these were the ones,
Yeah,
and these were the ones that mattered. And so just hanging in there with them, like through thick and thin, no matter what happened, and
yeah,
taking care of each other.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so for you, in your own journey of healing, I'm guessing that when you found out about being a six, that it might have clarified some of the anxiety you'd lived with or struggled with, and I mean, what was that like for you to start to learn about your type?
Uh, it was embarrassing. It was shocking. It was, when the truth comes into you and you're like, oh God,
Yeah.
that's true. It's really, really true. Um, and so it sort of landed like a thud. I was reading Sandra Maitre's Spiritual Dimension.
Mhm.
And I remember that feeling of like, oh my God, she's got that detail. She's got that detail. She's got every detail. I feel like I'm a bug that's just being examined on a board here. So, oh. um, so it was like, so that kind of being busted on that soul level, or that with so much detail, it was like it took a long time to kind of relax and allow that and to really let that information in. And it was relieving. In the end, it's relieving. It's like, yeah, there's like however many billion other people like me out there too.
Yeah.
And it's not so personal.
Yeah. Well, it's good to know you have company. At least one out of every 9 people is probably a Type 6, so there's quite a number. Um, yeah. So uh, one of the things that gets said about the sixes is that they can be hyper vigilant around worry or concerns of things happening that could go badly, and just have when they're healthy, their intuition just shows them things, and when they're a little less healthy, they can be over hyper vigilant, bordering on super vigilant. And how have you experienced vigilance in your life?
Um, I'd say there was just I've had I've had a lot of fear just sometimes just being alone in my house at night, for example. Not, I mean, I used to. I haven't for several years, but
Yeah.
that was a place where that played out. And then just in any crowd, anytime I go into a crowd of people, I'm always just looking. I'm scanning, or it's not it's a radar for how are we doing? Is anybody upset? Is anybody, is it going to get tense now, or is it
Hmm.
they got offended, or oh, they're really hurt, oh, they're really angry, oh, and then there is a sort of trying to ameliorate things sometimes play the peacekeeper, which I know is 9, but I have that too
Yeah. Yeah.
for my own, like, let's just have things be safe and calm. I do that. I do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so it's both can be a gift and a curse, uh, and so I think there's something. Um, you know, uh, Part of you have access to 9 because there's a line from 6 to 9, which is sometimes called the integration point, uh, and and meaning that you know on a good day you can tap into that part of you that wants to be a peacemaker or mediator, helping people be safe, and all is well. And so I think that's probably your social instinct too, which is really having that attunement to how's the group doing, and is there a ripple in the force somewhere, and what needs to happen. But um, so as a sometimes we joke, it's not funny for the sixes, but for the rest of us, we think it's funny. This sort of idea about catastrophizing, and worst case scenario, like when does that tend to get triggered for you, or if at all, or what is it? Especially in like these times, it would be rife for, because there's actually a lot of catastrophe going on, so it's not just
Mm,
made up.
mm,
So
mm,
yeah,
mm, yeah, I call that channel 6. listening to channel.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, I'm listening to Channel 6. Channel 6 comes in for me socially, of course, if I feel like I think I might have offended somebody, yeah. So, and that's sort of the after thinking of like, oh my God, I da 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 super ego, I really this da da da, or they really did da 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 da, um, as a making it worse than it probably is. So now I know to check in, like, well, like I've
not
learned.
second guess in your head and
Yeah,
uh,
to check it in the outside, check it
yes.
with the person.
Hmm.
So how are you doing? Did I offend you, et cetera, et cetera? So that's historical.
Hmm.
And then during these times, um, like last summer with the bushfires,
Mm.
um, yeah, look, in, in the beginning when they happened, I was well, before the fires actually came, I was on the app a lot. We've got this Fires Near Me app, so it tells where it is, and how far it's come, or if there's one close by, or et cetera, et cetera. When the time came that we had to evacuate and grab a go bag and go to our assembly place,
Mm.
I was grounded and there and knew what to do.
Mm.
It's the time before and the time after, if it goes on and on and on, that begins to be sort of where I started to live in this hyper vigilant time of me and keyed up. My nervous system was keyed up for a long time, and that just takes time to unravel. That just takes time to unravel and unwind nervous system.
I would
Um,
imagine. Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine there would be like a pretty strong hangover afterwards from the being in that tense state and but if I hear you correctly, when you were in action, you weren't caught up in that so much, but it was the before and after when you had time to ponder it, which is isn't that interesting? It's like once I'm in the middle of the fight, I'm okay, but when I consider afterwards, it's like, oh my God, or and sixes often have some funny stories, like how they are really nervous and an emergency happens and they just bolt right in, clear as can be, and take care of, disarm the bandit and then walk away and are shaking and afterwards. So it sounds
yeah,
like that. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. Yeah,
yeah. Because you were
yeah.
in a really fierce challenge. I know when you'd communicated with me, just you know, uh, death was a possibility, and so when you were up against that kind of stuff, was it anxiety that you were feeling, or was it just sort of this realization of my mortality and gosh,
Well, there's a few different incidents that happened last summer with the fires, but the one that I was just talking about was the first time going into the evacuation center. The first time being evacuated, there was about 5 times.
oh,
The
there were.
worst time, the worst time when we were all gathered in a place inland. Uh, that was terror. That
Yeah,
was just that I would call that terror.
yeah,
And talk about tension, physical tension. There was so much tension. It
hmm,
was very hard. That was really, really hard to be with. And
yeah, I'll bet it. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Well, how is that?
chanting helped.
Say that again.
Chanting helped at that time.
Yeah. So do you feel like you uh, relaxed some of that tension from that whole time, or
Um,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, I do. I've had
yeah,
some, some good SE sessions, and yeah, I feel like
awesome. Okay.
going well.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if, if you were with your other comrades in armed, other sixes, let's just say there was a group of teenagers that were, growing up and they had this six personality pattern. Would you? I hate this question, but I want to ask you because when they ask me, I go, "Good luck." But anything occur to you in terms of what's helped you, or what would have helped you, or as a Type Six, to relax more and trust yourself?
Right, right. Um, well, to other sixes, I can just say, oh my God, our bodies are the most beautiful, beneficial place of refuge. And, whatever way we can get into them, whatever way, water skiing, dancing, whatever. And gentleness. And gentleness is a really, really good one. Because I think we're so much more sensitive than people give us credit for, or that we recognize.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that.
I think you're right. That's really right on. Because sometimes the six, they're I find the sixes have really sensitive hearts. They really,
Mm,
but they're in this so-called head triad, right? But they all have very sensitive hearts, and I think it gets under described and underappreciated because there's a lot of within that. There's just a lot of heartfelt kindness that I've seen sixes demonstrate and contribute to others. So I wonder if you'd say a little bit about that in terms of how you notice that sensitivity and that in your heart.
um, yeah, well, I cry a lot. when,
Yeah,
when I'm touched, I cry a lot.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
I, yeah, it's lovely to be able to let down my guard enough to have that sensitivity, and I feel like us sixes, we so want to help. I do. I feel like we so want to help, and we so want to. I don't know how to say this, but I feel like we're really here to serve.
yeah, yeah. Say that last sentence one more time, a little louder. So I
Oh,
might,
okay. I think we are really here to serve,
yeah,
and I feel like that's like the most true and pared down thing that I really want in this world.
yeah, yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. Well, it's I, I've noticed that about sixes that wish to serve, and it's very much contribute to the whole, find a way to find my niche for service, and other types can do that too. But I notice that with sixes, a kind of well, at their best, a kind of loyalty towards human beings and towards life. There's a kind of commitment and loyalty that I notice. And I always think of that great Lord of the Rings with Samwise Gamgee, he's never taken the test, but I think he's a six, and he just is such a servant to Frodo, and it's just with him all the way, come thick or thin, and I've just seen that demonstrated when sixes commit to something to
Mm,
somebody. It's like it's whole hog, it's all in. You're going to have to pry me away from this, and I might stay there too long because I want to make sure I didn't default on my commitment. But there's just this commitment and
mm,
loyalty that's you really can sense they've got your back. So uh,
mm.
and so how do you notice um, maybe the way that you form commitments or loyalties? How does that, and what is it that draws you to that?
What draws me to make a commitment?
Yeah.
Well, at this stage in my life, if I feel there's some intrinsic goodness in it, if I feel like um, it will be for, if it is, it will be for my growth, if it is for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to be for my growth. It has to be. And my growth is interdependent with everybody's growth. It's like there isn't any separation, and that it has to be at that level in order for me to commit.
Okay.
Now, I'm older, I'm not 16 or 25. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, it, in my experience, I'm grateful that I'm not 16 or 25, but because there's an opportunity to learn something. I've often said, I finally have enough experience to be a parent. Why am I almost 70? What is with that? But oh well, that's the way it goes. So, uh, for you, what brings you joy? You know, what is it that touches joy or touches love or appreciation or awe? I mean, what is it that you go, this is like awesome?
uh, yeah, I'm looking out at the ocean right now, and I'm
Oh,
seeing sparkles on the ocean and the
mm,
clear day. So nature, there's a lot in nature. There's a lot in just being myself.
awesome, awesome.
Gardening, learning things, learning gardening.
Mm,
Yeah, all kinds of things.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a quality of presence, isn't it? It's not so much what happens on the outside anymore.
awesome. Yeah,
It's not
yeah,
conditional.
yeah. Something that's within your being that is there. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
sometimes in Enneagram circles, we talk about, and this is true in other, Diamond Heart or Gurdjieff, and I think also in a lot of Buddhist stories, there's something around essence and personality, right? And true self and this gnarly thing called our personality, and with the hope, that as we age and mature, that personality becomes a little softer and less automatic and taking over as much. And so I'm wondering for you, what have you noticed about your own maturing around presence and letting or softening some of the attachments to your six-ish worrying or catastrophizing, or I mean, what do you notice? Is that anything you can even put in words? Because that can be difficult to put words to.
Mm, mm. Yeah. Well, first, just recognizing when presence is present, and trusting it, letting it, sort of allowing the fullness of it to be more and more in my experience. Um, don't have to manage it. Don't have to appropriate it. Yeah, did you see how I did that? Did you see how I did that? I was really full and present there. um, allowing it, tolerating it, allowing it like that. And
Mm,
I just while we're talking Enneagram, I just really want to say that now, I am a 6, and I do go to 9, and I have gone to 9 for. I'm very familiar with that,
mm,
like that in a common route and pathway, big groove. But I have to say, in the last 2 years, I'm noticing more and more three-ish qualities in me, and shadow three. That's really coming to the fore, and I feel like the more I am relaxing and accepting of myself, it's almost like the more I feel like I'm held, I can relax and be in a, feel held in a loving presence, that those really achy, ouchy, shadowy sides can be here, and I can allow them, I can witness them, and there's less um, defending against them, less hiding them from myself. So
I wonder.
just to give space to that part.
Huh? So that's of course that sometimes in the Enneagram world, that movement towards 6 to 3 is sometimes called the stress point, but it's also called moving towards the missing piece,
Yeah.
which has something to do with, as you probably know, this idea of embodying the healthy aspects of the three energy, that kind of being able to radiate one's being and be okay with shining. And it's not narcissistic shine, it's just shining. Good. It's like the little kids that come into my wife's class and they're just like, oh, it's so good to see you. And there's just this
Yeah.
radiance and uh, nothing sort of, there's nothing in front of it. That's kind of a beautiful, uh, I guess you could say, a preciousness that comes forward without, that's not adorned by ego or expectation. It's just a beautiful, it's a
Yeah.
big heartfelt energy. And so I wonder, like, sixes sometimes have said, that one of their growth patterns is realizing that they initially really didn't like threes very much because they were so show-offy and me first and look at how awesome I am, and they assumed that they didn't want to be that at all. But what's in there for you? Anything that resonates for you around three energy and how you're working with it?
Um, well, I'm working with the shadow aspect of it within myself,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Like, and sort of a competitive, competitive, and do you have to be so loud? All of that, and it's all about you. That
Uh-huh. Oh, like you want people to like quiet down, not be so loud, and
it's so self-centered.
say that again.
It's so self-centered.
That's right. That's how they are.
It's so slick, so slick. And yeah, that's me dealing with that. That's there's all of that shadow content, and
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, yeah. So when you even conceive of what a healthy three energy would look like, or maybe even your wish for yourself, what comes up for you? Uh-huh. Yay! That's great. That's great. Yeah.
Just like that. Just like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah. 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 It's just, yeah, it's beautiful and contagious. It's also like an invitation to people. So yeah, interesting. Awesome. Well, uh, anything else bubbling around that you'd like to say about life on Channel 6? uh, I was thinking that. See, here's one thing. If you're sometimes we have a conversation about sixes that they have this sort of internal barometer. I don't know if barometer is the right word, but this sense of, we use the word optimal distancing, that sixes can move close and be close with you and then feel like you're smothering me, and then they go back and they move away because they want their independence. They don't want to be smothered, but they don't want you to go too far away. So then they come back and get close, and then they move away. So it's like the partner goes, okay, which one are you this morning? Are you the one who wants to be nurtured and held, or should I just let you go do your thing? I mean, partners sometimes have an interesting response.
Thank you for that. I wasn't quite aware of that.
Mm,
But that's true. That's true. There's a part of me that um, there's a part of me that gets really resentful that I know with my husband that I need help with things.
and that
And
you,
can't you see I want to I can't you see I want to do it on my own. I want to do it on my own. And if you would just support me in this way, not that way, this way.
uh-huh. Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Well, it's interesting because I know.
Another
Go ahead.
another thing I want to say about sixes and something that I've started to recognize the last 4 or 5 years is that I just get, because my head center is so active, and when I get overwhelmed, and particularly around certain learning new things, I will just go into brain freeze. I call it over brain freeze, and
Mm.
my head will not work.
Oh,
And and then when I start when my superego inner critic gets in there, that can precipitate a brain freeze. And
oh.
then I know it's like there's no point in just trying to go through and nut it out. I
Hmm.
need to disengage and actually just take a breath,
Yeah,
or two or five or six, maybe go just walk around,
yeah,
unravel, because in that state there's no possibility for receptivity,
yeah,
learning anything. There's no possibility. Nothing's going in and nothing's coming out.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
So
thank.
I have to go to another center
Yeah,
when that
yeah.
happens.
Well, interesting. Yeah,
And
yeah.
be compassionate, be compassionate. And just to label it, brain freeze. That's been a big relief.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
takes some of the shock out of it, right?
yeah, yeah. I'm in a state of brain freeze. I'm not even getting to be on channel 6 at this point. I'm.
Yeah.
Well, how would you describe your type 6 inner critic? Do you have a story on that creature?
Oh, actually, I think I told you when we had a Skype before about this. Her name is Cruella Deville, Cruella, so damn cruel. Mm. And it's undercutting, undercutting. So cut, chop you off at the knees, in
Yeah,
the gut. It's sort of that whole all the below things that you might not see, that are not quite like this,
yeah,
within view.
yeah. And
Mm.
and and because of her sort of potent cruelty, I would imagine it would, like sixers would say, when I'm really having a hard time, I feel a loss of confidence. It's like
Yeah,
it's like I don't have any ground under me, or I
yeah,
can't remember if I'm good at something. Was I good yesterday? I
yeah.
can't remember. Was I? But it's like it's kind of like a brain freeze, but it's more like it gets called amnesia, the amnesia of success, which fours are.
Success and totally there. Yep, totally there with that. Yep, yep.
Yeah,
In fact, I looked up that word because that's so relevant in my experience. I looked up that word confidence the other day, and it means, and it was really maybe not for maybe 5, 6 years ago that I felt like, oh my God, this is what confidence feels like.
yeah, yeah,
To kind of to clock and name the physical state of it was I didn't know it very well. I
yeah,
didn't know it.
yeah,
So
I,
so
yeah.
confidence means with trust,
Mm,
with fully trust.
mm,
So, and fiduciary, fidelity, all of these words are to do with trust.
yeah,
So full trust, confidence is with full trust. Yeah.
yeah, and that when I'm not caught in my patterns, it's like a fundamental basic trust within my being that I can feel it as an words are clumsy here, but as a it's like an anchoring source. It's a something in there that I know I feel supported, right? And so when I have the loss of confidence, like I don't have support, and now I'm swimming around looking for it, and in my fourish way. But yeah, um, and that's interesting. I appreciate you saying that. You know, it's like these certain, like the word equanimity. I had I didn't know what that was until one day I was resting and I went, oh, that's what that is. I thank you for arriving. I would have not known where to look, but there it is, right? And you know, just feeling that quality of that state of being is you know delightful. There's like an anchor in my soul as a result of it. So yeah, okay, yeah. So anything else? Anything else that comes to mind? Like, because someone, well, let me ask, now that I've asked you, intuition. You know, one of the conversations we have is that when sixes start to develop more quiet mind, that sort of inner authority becomes strong. Their sense of knowing what to do, it becomes more palpable, I guess is a good word. And I just wonder how you experience that, or what your experience of your intuitive connection is.
Yeah, that is definitely um, growing, and it always arrives as a peripheral experience,
Uh-huh.
peripheral over to the side.
Uh-huh. You'll
So
notice it like
yeah,
sort of,
it's always over there.
oh, interesting.
Yeah, it can be, that kind of knowing. It can be also comes with an easy gut or an open heart center.
Yeah, like
Um,
a heart intuition. Heart, yeah, yeah. Interesting. Well, this one over here, I wonder what occurred to me was that it comes through your atmosphere. The atmosphere of, you know, we often talk about how we have a 3 foot atmosphere around us, and when we're more present, we sense it. But it sounds like your intuition hangs out over here, or sometimes goes, "Here I am." That's interesting. Yeah.
it's
Huh.
also because it's never like four in the four, and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't talk like normal talk.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But it can be, but it can be a clear presence. It's
Yeah.
just over
Yeah.
there.
That's interesting. I just lean. Okay, you can talk to me now. Yeah. Well, so along your way, I'm imagining different spiritual teachers have or you know spiritual writers have been favorites of yours, and I wondered if you could mention a few because I'm.
Yeah, sure, sure. Osho. Osho was my first teacher, and
Uh-huh.
he still is. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Was he in?
And,
Did you go to India to be with him? Or okay,
yep.
yeah,
In
yeah.
India and America
Hmm.
and
Ashland. Did you go to Ashland where he had the center there? It was the last place he was.
in
I don't.
Oregon.
Yes, in
It was,
Oregon, Ashland, Oregon. Yeah.
it wasn't Ashland, but it was in Oregon.
Oh, oh, it was right.
It was
It was
another place.
yeah, some
Yeah.
other small place. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
I was there, and then I was back in India when he went back after
yeah.
the America time, and then the Tibetan Buddhists.
Mm,
Um, Yongyi, he changed his name, so it's Yongyi Mingyur Dorje Rinpoche, Mingyur Dorje Rinpoche, Tsokmi Rinpoche, and
mm,
Hamid, and
yeah,
Hazel Mukundam,
yeah,
Hazel. Yeah.
yeah,
But,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Awesome. And
And Russ Hudson, and Russ, oh my God.
yeah, awesome, awesome. Well, I think you've given a
Yeah.
lot of awesome stuff. Just appreciate your generosity and your open-heartedness and just your truthfulness. It's really beautiful. And, uh, and I'm just wondering, as you're sitting there now, what is your inner climate like? What are you noticing, in your heart center or your belly center or your head center? Like what's the atmosphere like in your three centers?
Um, that's a lovely question. Thank you.
Mm,
Um, yeah, my belly's pretty relaxed.
mm,
My heart feels pretty um, warm, and there's a sweetness there, and my head feels like a moon, like a full moon right now.
Oh wow, beautiful. Well, it all shows. Your atmosphere is very lovely and spacious and just yeah, just a beautiful quality. So that, and thank you for articulating that. And I like that full moon thing in the head center. That's awesome. I love that. And the sweetheart and yeah. Well, look, it's such a pleasure. Just sending you lots of love and blessings, and hope we can connect again. And if you're okay with it, I wanted to be able to put this on my website where people can go and learn about a Type 6. And so when I get it ready, I'll send you a copy so you can have a copy for yourself. But you've just been super lovely, and yeah, and don't hesitate to reach out if I can ever be of service.
It's good to connect, Michael. Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks a lot.
very good. Yeah, I feel like I'm with a kindred
Yeah,
soul. So many
yeah,
blessings.
yeah. Yeah. Hey, wait, can I look at it first, or does
Yeah.
it just go? Can I
No,
look
no,
at it?
no. What I'll do is I'll load it. It'll load to my computer, and then I'll just send it to you. Uh,
Okay.
yeah,
Good.
yeah, absolutely.
I just don't. This is like, oh my God! Like I don't want to. I have to check it.
Well, you didn't swear or say anything vulgar, and you're just like articulate, but you want to be sure. That's the thing. Type 6.
That's the thing.
I may have to look at it 2 or 3 times just to be sure. So I will send it to you. I'll probably send it to you in the morning. But I'm
No
gonna.
worries.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Be
Thanks.
well.